Good evening, everybody. It's 5:15. We're gonna bring this meeting to order with the recitation of the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We're gonna be able to hear that one real well tonight. Good crowd. The roll call will show that all council members are in attendance. We'll move on to the consent agenda, which includes approval of minutes of the September 9th and 16th, 2024 meetings, approval of bills and claims, and approval of licenses and permits, including renewal of special Class C retail native wine license, Full Swing Golf LLC, renewal of Class B retail alcohol license, Carroll Can Redemption, renewal of Class E retail alcohol license, Fairway Stores Incorporated, number 409, renewal of Class B retail alcohol license, Hy-Vee Fast and Fresh, and renewal of Class C retail alcohol license with catering privilege for Hy-Vee Market Cafe. Does there anyone have any questions? If not, I'd entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
By Jason, Tom seconded. Roll call vote, please.
Ordinance.
Yes.
Shrek. Yes. Dirks.
Yes.
Atherton.
Yes.
Seaman.
Yes.
Power.
Yes.
Motion carried.
All right, are there any oral requests from the audience tonight regarding any communications that would regard an item that is not on the agenda this evening? If anybody has something they'd like to speak about that's not on the agenda. Okay, we'll move on from that to ordinances, and the first ordinance is Carroll City Ordinance Chapter 66 Amendment, Truck Traffic Prohibited on Certain Streets. And Brad.
Thank you, Mayor. You see my memo is similar to last time. The only thing that I did add is that we've completed the police department survey for the road down there with that information, which also was attached to the memo. And then the street department did a traffic study down there also, and that was attached to the memo too. So we do have both those items for you to look at. The only other change, I did make a change to the violation fine amount, made it to a schedule violation. It just seems to be a little easier for us in the car when we're writing citations to subjects for all of our ordinances. So that was the only two changes, or the only change that I had, and then those attachments. So I know we got a lot of people here. I'll keep it short and let you guys discuss.
All right, very good. There's quite a crowd here tonight. I'm guessing some people would like to speak both for the ordinance and against it. So we'll start with anyone that would like to see this ordinance passed. Is there a few people here that would like to speak? 5 minutes each. Come on up. Which one is first there? You want to go first?
Sure.
Okay.
I think we're just gonna kind of go in tandem, Jay.
Okay, well, it'll be 5 minutes each is what you get. So
Thank you.
go ahead and state your name and your address and go ahead.
Hello, Council. My name is Maureen Beck, and I live at 322 West Pleasant Ridge Road with my husband, Bill, and 2 young children, one of them which has joined me on stage. We attended the meeting on August 26th, and I left frustrated because I do not believe that the discussion of the ordinance amendment to Chapter 66 was thoroughly addressed. The conversation dwindled into a discussion focusing on vehicle speed. The speed limit on Pleasant Ridge Road is 25 miles per hour, and I think we can all agree that it should be followed by all drivers. The issue I am here to discuss tonight is the public safety concern brought on by the large vehicle traffic, specifically those over 2,000 pounds. Aside from the smell and general noise of these trucks, their weight and their lack of the ability to quickly brake to avoid a collision is a serious cause for concern. I appreciate the diligence and the presence of the City Council members, the Carroll Police Department, and the DOT on our road following the last meeting. But as a resident, it was obvious that there was a significant drop in truck traffic. Although this was not scientific, what this tells me is that the drivers were able to find an alternative route. I'm guessing just 1 mile south on 220th Street. I assume, like myself, these truck drivers plug their destination into an app which gives them the fastest route option. This is likely why we are seeing and smelling the recent surge in truck traffic on our residential street. Sharing the road with these massive vehicles is jeopardizing public safety for their own convenience. There are 43 homes on Pleasant Ridge and another 29 on Maxwell and Timber Creek roads, whose only outlet is onto Pleasant Ridge Road. If you consider the homes on Brookdale, Deer Creek, and the 704 development that also use Pleasant Ridge, there are over 100 homes directly impacted by truck traffic on Pleasant Ridge. In addition to our homes, the street also shares access to the Sauk Rail Trail, including a trail crossing. As our city grows, more people are using Pleasant Ridge as an arterial road. As city council members, I believe it is your duty to represent and protect the residents of Carroll. Safe neighborhoods, not preferred truck routes, should be the council's top priority. It is only a matter of time before an accident occurs and causes major damage or death. So I ask that you vote with the overwhelming majority of Pleasant Ridge residents and the recommendation by Chief Brad Burke to amend the ordinance to Chapter 66 of the Carroll City Ordinance.
All right, thank you. And Matt?
Jerry, yeah, thank you, Mayor. Matt Gredeman, 106 West Pleasant Ridge Road. I'm probably the only person that was there when that road was put in initially. The road in front of my home was intended for residential traffic entirely and is currently at 5.5 inches thick, as verified by an engineer that I had at my house and measured the depth of the road. So the traffic that is currently being used on the road is well in excess of the 5.5 inches as allowed by SUDAs that we follow within the city of Carroll for development. Current streets for residential are 7 inches. This development in front of my house is 5.5. That's what was intended initially as residential, number one. Number two, the truck traffic is an issue of safety. Trucks need more time to stop. Clearly evident with the video you received today from one of the residents down there. Semi was unable to stop going uphill as a bus was coming downhill with the yellow lights flashing. Safety issue. I have documented information from DOT sites that you're welcome to have when I'm through here. They do not stop like cars. A truck traveling at 35 miles an hour will travel about 40% further than a car. And that's because of the ability for air brakes to work as quick and the mass of the vehicle to stop. Along with that, fatality rates and safety are related. Vehicles traveling 35 miles an hour or more have roughly a 40 to 50% chance greater of fatality. So when the average speed going down the road is in the roughly 30 mile an hour range, half or above that, half or below that, you could make an assumption that we're traveling mid-30s or more, and we have witnessed well into the 50s and 60 mile an hour speeds running down that road. So impact effect on a pedestrian on the road, fatality rates are significantly higher. The question we also heard was, this is a farm, this is a road for farm to market. Iowa DOT has a map that shows this was never intended for that traffic. This map has been out there for a significant amount of time. So the Pleasant Ridge Road is not a farm to market road. So there's addressing that. So questions, Bud? Thank you. So thank you, council.
All right, thank you. Anyone else at all? Let's have one more person, maybe. Okay, sure, come on up.
I don't think I can reach your mics. We've all seen all the data that's been collected, but I'd also like you to consider that as residents of the area, we have a lot of anecdotal evidence of trucks. My mother and I go out and walk daily, and I don't think there's a time of day when we go out when we don't have to wait for big trucks that are going across. I only have access to get across the road where there's cutouts in sidewalks. And so I have to go across a good chunk of Pleasant Ridge to get from one sidewalk back to my residence from the trail. It's scary at times. But what my mom and I also see are all the kids that are coming out from those two feeder streets on their bikes, on their mopeds, and it's scary to us to watch them enter the Pleasant Ridge Road. So my main concern is safety. I think we can look at a lot of numbers, we can look at designations of roadways and everything, but to me, safety is the bottom line. And, you know, we're crying for Carroll to get more development and build more houses and have more residents. This is an area that's done that. And now I think it's time to address what comes along with that, and that's providing safety for the people who live there.
We've thoroughly enjoyed living in this neighborhood that continues to grow and continues to thrive, and houses going up and everything else. But we were amazed when we got there, not having, you know, we've been there 2-3 years. The traffic was immediate, that we had no idea it was there. And we're lucky, we're living in those condos that we're back away, so we don't have the ground doesn't rumble in our condo and so forth. But it is scary as can be. And just last week, 2 things struck me. I'm coming up west from Grant Road, and midway up the hill is a school bus on the right-hand side of the road, and there are 5 or 6 cars backed up behind it. Something coming from the west, popping that hill, it'd be horrific. The sidewalks, the people are putting in their own sidewalks along there to make it safer for all of the kids on their bikes and their scooters, and there's young drivers there, and there's the buses that are coming in the you know, the afternoon and in the morning. But it is truly scary, and like Mary said too, we've talked about it so much in the condo association. Safety is the only thing we have to consider, and we have to do it. We have to make it safe for all of the people that live there. Is it gonna cause some you know, additional minutes for a truck to go around it or to go slower? Something has to happen. I don't know what the answer is. This is a heck of a good start, but we have to make that safe. There's no other street like that in the city of Carroll, maybe in the county and the state, I don't know. It is like a highway, and that's something we have to watch. So greatly appreciate the work on it, and your crew, Brad. You know, I drive much safer since you guys spend a lot of time. I don't think so. I stop at the stop sign completely. So anyway, thank you very much.
All right, thank you both. Okay, I'm gonna have one comment right now, and that's only because it was at the request of one other person, and that was one of the developers, Ron Scheckman, who developed this in the first place. He did ask me to come here and state for his record that this was not intended to be a truck traffic street. They meant it to be, when they developed it, I think it was him and Jim Petig, and some people like Matt might know even more. But he did ask me to convey that to those in attendance this evening, that their intent was for this to be a strictly residential neighborhood. Okay, so anyone that would be in favor of keeping things the way they are, certainly welcome to come on up and speak your piece now. Does anybody want to talk on that behalf? That would be someone that does not want this ordinance to be passed. Okay. Then I'm gonna open this up for discussion.
I'm just gonna, I got a text message since we've been sitting
Okay.
here from a resident on that road. I'll just kind of read it. She says, she is not one of the residents that supports having this Pleasant Ridge Road closed to truck traffic. She thinks it is also a farm to market road and the traffic is not bothersome.
Okay, do we have an address here, or?
400 block of, Barry, what's your address? Where'd Barry go?
411 East Pleasant.
415
Okay,
East Pleasant Ridge.
all right. Is this someone that's willing to give their name here for this? 'Cause
She did not put her
typically-
name in here,
Okay,
so. I
all
don't-
right.
She just lives in the condos by Barry.
Okay, any discussion from the council at all that you want to bring up?
I just, very
Okay.
briefly, since Barry brought it up, he mentioned the hill. As he looked toward the hill and how it backed up, the traffic. I want to mention, we were the first house to be built beyond Gredemann's. There was nothing but farm field down from us, across from us, nothing. Nobody anticipated the exponential growth. We bought our lot in 1990. Bob Gredemann, Claire's was built around 72, I believe. We built ours in 92. And Denny Beerle was one of the partners. He walked us in the grass as we looked over our lot. And he talked about the plan for the street and how they were going to curve it as it traveled east. And they did do that. There are 2 curves down there now. But getting back to the rolling hills that are beginning on the west end off of 71, the whole street is 1 mile long. A half mile is exactly halfway at our driveway. The whole area running from west to my driveway, running east, is hilly, and you do not have a clear line of sight until you get to my driveway and you can look down the hill where it starts to curve. And Denny told us this will be residential and we're curving it to prevent truck farm traffic. So that was the intent. And I will tell you, I've seen little girls on scooters doing the hills and not knowing what's coming toward them. And I have followed them followed them and watched it. This needs to pass for all the reasons that were articulated.
Well, I'd like to make a motion to pass it then. Or you got something, Laverne?
Yeah, I got
Oh,
it.
sorry, I forgot about that. Sorry, Laverne.
Yeah, go ahead, Laverne.
As some of you know, I spend 5 hours down there doing a lot of data collection. I got one question here based off of what was presented. It was mentioned that over 35 mph, it's 40 to 50% better chance of an accident, correct? Okay. So if
25,
So I get that. So my question is if this is a 25 mile an hour speed limit area, if it was enforced to 25 mile per hour, is this an issue then?
Yes.
Still yet?
When you're coming down, going east, I defy you to, I'm sorry, I defy you to obey that speed limit.
I get that, but that's
So
what I'm
you're
saying.
going faster than
That's
the
exactly where I'm going with this. Is I sat there for 5 hours and, you know, I don't know if you can see my chicken scratching, but I marked down every car, pickup, which way they're going, how fast they're going, because Brad gave me a radar gun. Well, I want to have the correct data. So this data that we got from Randy and Brad, my 5 hours that I sat there pretty well reflects this same data that's been, some of it was like 24 hours a day for 10 days. Pretty well reflects the same data, except I notated which way they were going, east or west. That data doesn't show this. And the other thing is the rubber strips that went across the road were halfway down the road, okay? The data on here shows 28 basically 28 mile per hour to 33, 30, somewhere in there, mile per hour. At that point, my radar gun, when I sat there and the traffic was going downhill east, by the time they got down the hill, they were going 35, 40, or 45. Okay? It's a speed issue, people. I get it's a trucks. Now, I watched the trucks. I really paid attention to it. First of all, I used to drive semi. I get taking Swan Lake sucks because you got to stop at the bottom of a hill and you got to go up from the bottom of a hill. I'd want to bypass that myself if I was a truck driver. Okay. The trucks, the data shows from their reports and mine that we have from 1.6 to 4.7 of the traffic is semis.
That's not much.
That's not much. The semis eastbound going downhill, the ones I notated, they're about 25 mile an hour to 30 mile an hour. They kept their brakes on. The semis that hit those rubber strips that Randy had at 35 mile an hour or 30, down at the flats, coming off Grant Road, they're gunning it. They want to get up that hill. When they're at the bottom of that hill, my radar gun shows them 40 mile an hour or faster. By the time they get to Randy's strips or halfway up the hill, they're slowed down. If we enforce that 25 mile per hour, they're not gonna like that hill. Mike, you're a semi driver.
Yeah.
They're gonna go be at 20 mile an hour at the top of that hill. You're not gonna like that. So where I'm really getting at with a lot of this is I'm not sure if we pass an ordinance, can we enforce it? First of all, the police department does not have a whole lot of time to sit and watch traffic. When they do, we got 30,000 vehicles on Highway 30, we got 20,000 on 71, we got 9,000 on Grant Road per day, and we have approximately 1,300 on this street. Then you got Main Street and 18th Street. Where are they gonna spend their time? You know, you gotta keep that traffic on Highway 30 and 71 and Grant Road down. Yes, they can spend time when they got the time to hit this, but what's the difference? If we have an ordinance in place and they don't have any time to enforce it, what's the good? So I guess where I'm getting with this is let's keep thinking about the ordinance, but let's look at when the police have time, sit there with the radar and enforce the speed limit. Let's try that first before we get all excited about an ordinance, because once you do an ordinance, that's a law.
So if you're saying that the police don't have time to enforce a speed limit, or you're saying if they don't have time to enforce an ordinance, no trucks on the road? What's the difference in no trucks on the road or 25 mile an hour speed limit? They're still not gonna
Exactly.
have time to be there.
Well,
So the
they can make some special efforts, but let's say they're there to do the ordinance, to enforce the ordinance to stop trucks. If they're sitting there to enforce the ordinance or stopping trucks and somebody's going 35, 40 mile an hour, what are they gonna do? Probably gonna pick you up. So I guess what I'm saying is, let's try the enforcing the speed limit when the police department has the time. And from there on, if that doesn't work, then we gotta figure out something else. But honestly, an ordinance, I don't know how, you know, if it can be enforced, great, but, you know, might as well just enforce the speed limit. Because at 25, you know, I called the people, I had a lot of people get a hold of me on this, because I asked for it. Everyone that talked to me is no problem with farm equipment. Let the farm tractors go pulling the equipment, because they're not fast. Nobody's had a complaint with that. The complaints is obviously the one truck that smells. That starts a lot of this. And when I was there,
No.
there was fluid coming out of that truck.
That's not true, Laverne.
Okay.
It's safety. Laverne, I want to,
But I
oh,
just-
go
Let
ahead.
him finish.
I
Okay.
just don't know, I guess I would like to see, obviously we want something done here, but I don't know if an ordinance is gonna do it. So my thinking is let's try the speed limit first and see what happens.
All right,
Brad,
we're
I
just
have-
we're talking up here now, and Carolyn, you
Oh,
were.
wait, if somebody else in the audience has something, that's fine.
Appreciate your time. that you
Okay,
spent
if you
on
wanna
it.
come up, Mike, do you wanna come up and talk or not?
No, I just wanted to appreciate all this time they spent on that.
Okay.
That was a lot They put in.
That's fine.
Thank you.
All right, thanks.
Brad, I have a question in regards to that. when you guys go out and enforce traffic and somebody calls in and says, oh, hey, the Darling truck just went down the road, what is your response to that if you don't have somebody in that area at that time?
They're probably not gonna get a citation for it. We need to be able to stop the driver.
You have to be able to witness it happen at the time?
It's gonna be necessary, yeah. And we do enforce down there. We just don't do a lot of stationary traffic because the traffic count is, like Laverne said, is not real high compared to
1,300 to 1,500
compared to other
at most.
roads within the community.
Just what's Grant Road for?
9,000.
Yeah,
9,000?
9,000-ish.
Okay. Yeah.
But during the peak hours, using the traffic data that we have, we could do some selective enforcement.
We know the times,
Ish.
yeah. We know the times that they're coming through.
I guess
Alright.
I'm just trying to say, let's try that first, is my impression.
All right, any other discussion from the council at all?
I'd like to make a
I-
Hey,
motion.
Carolyn, just
Yes.
let Carolyn,
I'm sorry.
I forgot that you were gonna say something before, go
I
ahead.
just want to mention, the reason Maureen and others said this isn't a speed issue at all. It's a size issue. These trucks are longer than the houses they are driving by, the single-family homes. And I will tell you, a fully loaded grain truck, looked it up, semi-truck, weighs 80,000 pounds. That momentum that Matt talked about, even if it's going under the speed limit, I've seen little 6, 7-year-olds on electric scooters. They're out on their bikes, they're weaving back and forth, crossing on driveways. And the terrain, like I said, is rolling. They can be going 10 miles an hour and hit some little kid, and it would not be pretty. So the speed, fine, we have a speed limit, try to enforce it, but we need these huge trucks off a residential, high-density neighborhood. We need to do the best we can for public safety and not guarantee preferred routes.
All right. Let's do this quick. Stand up, tell me your name, one question.
Okay, I'm
then-
Sandra Shadle. Good evening.
Okay.
I live in the condo right adjacent to the bike
Okay.
trail. I want to tell you a little story.
Uh,
Several years
we've-
ago, my late husband contacted Landis in Ames and talked to somebody that was in the higher ups over there about having they were hauling beans from Ralston to Templeton. And he asked him if they would stop at Grant Road, go a mile south, and then go a mile west. And the gentleman told Dwayne that we could require our trucks, the Landis trucks, to do that. But if it was other trucks under contract, they couldn't. And Dwayne said to him, well, if they were under contract to me, they would do what I asked them to do. And so there is a seasonal problem with that. And then the other thing is that end, the east end of this is thicker concrete. Up west, it's thinner and it's beginning to wear. You can see that,
Okay,
okay?
all right, thank you.
Thank you.
Did you have one question, then we're gonna, go ahead. Just go ahead and tell. You don't need to?
I was just going to tell a story.
Okay.
Okay, my name is Abby Wink, and I live at 428 East Timber Creek. My husband is a farmer. I grew up on a farm, and my husband's family has a trucking and a feed grain business. I moved here 3 years ago, and before we moved here, his uncles, they own Wing Fades in Litterdale, and they trucked from similar to that same route, and they went by our house every day. When we moved to that road, my husband said, guys, I've got a 10-year-old, a 7-year-old, and a 2-year-old. Stop using the shortcut. And they have, because it's not necessary. I work for Nutrien, one of the largest agriculture exporters of products in the world. Their biggest thing is safety. Not just the safety of yourself, but the safety of the people around you. And when you see something, they call it stop work. Because the liability for them, if they would have a truck on that road, it would cost them millions. And I would hope if you owned a truck company or your farm, you wouldn't want that liability on your books. That's true. My son's best friend, he lives at the top of the hill. There isn't a sidewalk. He has to use the street to get to his best friend's house. It is a safety concern. If anything, guys, this is safety. It is our children who in the summer are biking up to Kemper in groups of 10, 20. This time of the year, the kids, they're all about disc golf. They're going rolling hills, going from rolling hills out to Swan Lake on their bikes. I ask you, for the safety of our children, I would never, ever, ever want any farming, any trucking business. This is my background. This is my family. This is our well-being. I would never, ever want to jeopardize that. But for the sake of the safety of our children, I think we all need to step back and ask ourselves, is a shortcut worth it?
All right, thank you. Any more discussion?
Sidewalks are
What's that?
sidewalks are done by the residents.
Yes. Yes.
For that one strip, yes.
All right, if there's no more discussion, I'd entertain a motion to approve this ordinance. Pardon?
Street.
Oh, excuse me.
Or all three?
No. No way.
It's an option.
Okay,
I'm just
I would look
bringing-
for, I'm sorry, I do
My
have
vote
that.
will be based on that we do the speed study before the ordinance at this point.
Okay. So I'll look for approval of the first reading of this ordinance. Is there a motion?
So moved.
By Carolyn? Is there a second?
I'll second it.
And second by Jason. Roll call vote, please.
Brett,
No.
Bauer,
No.
Atherton,
No.
Third,
No.
Cordero,
No.
Seaman.
Yes.
Okay, motion did not pass, but I took one thing out of this, and that would be to you, Brad, that you're going to intend on maybe redoubling the efforts from your staff to take a look at the truck traffic, not just truck traffic, but the speeding and the laws that we already have in effect. All right,
You're still gonna send a letter over to Darling requesting that
I'll
they
send-
still,
I'll-
that they
yeah.
don't use, okay.
I would have that intention.
I think
Randy-
on top of that, we should the mayor and I should probably go just have a personal
Yeah, okay.
connection with them also.
Randy will
just to
definitely do that with the ones that we
Okay.
know are using it at this time. So,
Randy-
and I would hope they listen to this. Go ahead.
Randy, what would it take to put electronic speed signs on that road?
You mean permanent ones, like
Yeah.
roads coming into Willie?
Yep.
Just a purchase.
I mean, I think that'll help. I mean,
There's already one there and west
We'll let them be clear, and then we'll go on to
Childhood,
the next item.
I think you could have it coming down. I was down
Ballpark,
that
Randy,
hill is
what are
where
those, what are those
That's where
costs?
there is one, right on that
I'm gonna,
county, right as you.
rough estimate, I'm gonna say
into-
less than 3,000
Yeah,
a piece.
yeah.
I think you need one in a resident's front yard coming
And there's one
down.
there now from the county
the
that they
speed
put
zone
up.
signs.
It would be just like
Or
that,
for
with
the
the
solar
solar
panel
panels.
signs with solar.
These little kids are out in the street.
Hey, guys, we still have a meeting going on, please.
So,
Yeah, get the doors back there.
anyway.
Thanks, Mike.
it's-
Can you get cost of those speed signs and maybe add another one to that road? Yeah.
Kyle, I don't think it'd hurt to do both sides of it. to
Yeah,
be
I
honest
don't-
with you. Glidden's got one, travel it all the time. I can come off the railroad tracks and see it. I see everybody, I mean, if you could look out there, not one of you see those things and go, oh, I wonder how fast I can get it to go up, you know? You instantly hit your brakes and go, okay, I
Correct.
get it.
Yep.
I'm going a little fast. I mean, I'd like to see them on both sides out there, so.
Laura, throw up that one. This is the one that Brad gave us. It's amazing how many people are speeding. The other one. The red is basically the speed limit. The green is over the speed limit.
And we heard some,
Eastbound traffic, I believe.
So where was your location that you took this data from? Where is it at?
I believe it was at the bottom before the intersection to Timber.
Okay.
at the, that would be up on the top.
No, that's it.
Timber Creek is the second road off of Grant Road.
Right. But I thought you said clear down at the bottom closer to,
Bottom of the hill.
okay.
I think there's that empty lot that's for sale. I believe it was either sitting in there or the house directly to the east.
Okay. Anything else?
No.
All right. All right, thank you all. We'll move on to resolutions. First resolution, West Gulfview Subdivision, and Aaron.
Yep. On September 17th, the city received 2 bids for the West Gulfview subdivision. Both bids are from developers that have presented competent proposals with a summary of the proposals. Wittrock Construction submitted a proposal of placing 10 duplexes on the north 5 lots with 4 single-family homes on the southern lots. In the proposal, they feel that the construction will be complete within 5 years after the infrastructure is completed. Wittrock Construction proposes to pay the city $750,000 for the property. The city will be requested to complete the infrastructure. The second proposal, BM Real Estate, plans on constructing 20 condos/townhomes on the north side of the property. In the top north 2.5 acres, then the southern 2.5 would be single-family homes. They would reduce the lot sizes to accommodate the 5 single-family homes. Their proposal would be to pay the city $200,000, and the city would be required to complete the infrastructure. They would also request an abatement and an urban renewal financing. I'm not exactly sure how that would work as far as the abatement and urban renewal financing, but if we're putting the infrastructure in, we need the urban renewal dollars. So that would be a difficult pill for us to swallow. With the $750,000 as compared to the cost of the infrastructure over a 15-year abatement, or actually it ends up being a 16-year abatement or rebate, excuse me, well, urban renewal area, I think that the city can fiscally come out and get that infrastructure cost paid for through the cost of those taxes that are collected from that development.
And what amount did you factor for the infrastructure cost?
I went with $1.7 million that we had.
1.7. Okay. All right, any other discussion regarding these proposals? All
Can we
right.
table this?
I got a little more information here.
You do?
Yeah.
Did you calculate it?
Did I calculate it? Well, you can calculate it when I talk. I have a letter of understanding here for first right of refusal to the property right to the west with Pete Simons. If we go forward with the infrastructure, we would have first right to buy that land.
At what price?
That'll be discussed in a closed session if we decide to go to that point.
Here's the problem though, is right now what we know is we have $1.3 million and we have 4 acres, right? It's almost $400,000 an acre. It's very hard when you're developing at $400,000 an acre, if you don't know that unknown, that will be probably a national record. Literally throughout the entire country, $400,000 an acre for 4 acres is what the known number that we have right now. So if you can sleep at night knowing that you have set a record throughout the entire nation on the known numbers of what we have, right? Now I know that there is possible for expansion, but we gotta live in the real world of what we know. We know that we have 4 acres. We know that's gonna be $1.3 million. That's $400,000 an acre.
That's why I think we need to go into a closed session to discuss the property to the west.
Okay,
Jason, to your point, living in the real world, these people that put an offer in for 4.5 acres of $750,000, that's their money. They're living in the real world.
They are, but that's only one part of the equation. It still leaves 1.3 that we need to put into it. And so I agree with you that it's a great offer. Unfortunately, it's still going to cost us $400,000 an acre to develop it, to get that money out of it. And we're never going to see that money back. And so that's the problem that I have with it.
I think we think too closed-minded. I mean, those homes are going to be there for the next 100 years.
How long is it gonna take to pay back that though? 40 years?
What?
Through the urban renewal?
Yeah.
16 years, is that what you said there?
Yes. It will calculate right at that 15-year mark to pay that back.
That's if nothing develops to the west.
So what you kind of, what you're gonna have to do with it is you're gonna have to calculate which properties go into the urban renewal area at what time, because, to maximize the dollars. But this is fairly typical. And so when a house is fully assessed, then you put it in the urban renewal area so that you can fully assess that for the extent of the, that's something that we've done, or I've done a number of times. But over the 15 years, that would pencil out.
I would tell you, if I was the owner of the land of the West, I'd be watching this and watching to see that we just spent $400,000 an acre to do this. He can almost charge us whatever he wants at that point because we're stuck. I mean, that's a lot of money per acre. We're stuck.
We're not voting on that tonight. We're just voting on if we want to accept one of these two. And we're not bound to that.
We're not bound to accepting it if we.
No, we're not, right, Aaron?
No, before.
Go ahead.
If I could answer that, yeah.
Thank you.
Before the council could take any formal action, there has to be a public hearing.
Right.
On the proposal. And that wouldn't take place until the next meeting.
The only thing I'd say, Jason, to the $400,000 is we are recouping it. It's not that, the money's just not going away and never coming back. I'll grant 16 years is a long time to get that money back, but
16
it's
years.
not, yes.
And I would love to see somewhere in our country where they spend $400,000 an acre to develop it. Love to see it. And if you could bring that to me to maybe put my mind at peace, I have a feeling the average land I looked up, just a quick Google search, is about $70,000 an acre for this type of, to develop land into residential. We are so skyrocketed over that I feel like we keep on kicking this thing. This thing has been kicked down the road, and it's always like, let's just approve this thing. Let's just approve this thing. The numbers don't get any better, I feel. We can continue to kick this down the road, but these numbers don't get any better. These numbers are still here. We still have 4 acres. We still have the $1.7 million to put it in. Whether we keep part of it back or not, we continuously kick this down the road.
If we could acquire that land to the west at a reasonable price, would that change your mind?
What's a reasonable price? And then we're gonna have to, we'll
That's why
cut
we
the
gotta go
numbers.
into a closed session so I can tell you.
Yeah, we're gonna have to cut the numbers to see if it's even in the ballpark. But you gotta agree, $400,000
I
for 4
get
acres is, you can't
For the
even sleep at
infrastructure
night.
for just the golf course lots, that's over money. But if we can get that land to the west, that 100 and some acres, that opens up a whole lot of potential. When we only got basically 30 lots, Jason Whitrock told me there's about 30 empty lots left in the city limits. Then there's nothing left.
But I guess we need to know
Are
that.
we just gonna sit back and try nothing?
No, I'm gonna
Have we
sit back and
tried,
wait for
have
the
we tried
equation.
at all to talk to Cody and try to get that land, like, something work there?
You're gonna
I
spend
mean,
way more, I think you'll spend way more than that in infrastructure. It's an island that's sitting out there with a road that's leading back
But
there.
how many lots can we put out there? How many
Well,
houses can we
it's
put
an
out
80,
there?
it's 80 acre parcel, but Lamar Cothy's business plan is he buys ground, gets it zoned, and then he waits for another developer to come and buy it. That's typically what has happened with Lamar Cothy's ground.
So
That's
we
why
have
he ended up
We have two
buying that.
developers ready to buy this land? Can we get them interested in buying that land?
So who's gonna pay for the infrastructure on that?
I'm not saying that I'm opposed to helping pay for infrastructure.
I'm not either. It's just 4 acres. I just can't
9
do
houses
it.
is compared to 80 acres is a
No,
big difference.
Jason, I'm with you,
Yeah.
but if we have a chance to get the 100 and some acres across the street, that changes everything.
I'm still not sold that we're gonna get that 100 acres across the
At this
street.
great deal. I don't, we're missing part of the equation
We
in
have
order
first
to
right
accept
of
the bid.
refusal right here.
But he's not even telling
So,
you in that first right of
JJ, if
refusal
we
what he
don't get it,
wants.
they don't get it, then maybe this whole project's dead. But if we can get it, that's potential. That's all gravity flow to our lift station.
Then I say we table this until we find out whether we can't, like, we don't have the whole equation. Does that make sense? We just don't have the whole equation. And you need the whole equation in order to spend that much money on something. We really do. I mean, we owe it, because it's not our money. We owe it to the taxpaying constituents that we have the answers to that equation.
Yeah.
Where we can figure out how much it is per acre and where we're at. And so like where we're at now, I assume that we all have to be a no. Because we all agree that $400,000 an acre is way too much.
That's why. I
Can we
worked-
table this till November 11th?
Why, what's that, what's November 11th?
After the election.
You can laugh.
What would that change?
Dave?
Even to get time and some numbers about this.
Or can we table this till we figure out the other part of the equation?
I've got a little bit of a confusion because I've done the numbers on the infrastructure costs using the tax dollars that are projected to be created on those 4.5 acres. So the tax dollars that are presented there will pay for the infrastructure. That's what we asked for back when I couldn't give you that because I didn't know what the development was gonna be. And now, to me, I feel like we're moving the goalposts. Okay, it works out, it pencils out, but now we're like, well, hold on a second. So I understand, let me finish, please. I understand where we're talking about, and I understand that $400,000 an acre for infrastructure is a high cost, but we're also talking about the houses that are being built there and the taxes created there are paying for the infrastructure. So that's just my concern. I mean, I'm happy to get you numbers, but don't move the goalposts on us. If that's what you want, that's fine, but just let me know.
We can go back and review the tape, and from the start of this, I said that these numbers do not work. I've said it to the developer.
I'm not pointing
I said
a
it through
finger.
zoning, I said it through everything. So when I sit here and say that it's $400,000 an acre and that still doesn't work, I have been consistent this entire time. I'm not a politician up here. I'm not. And I'm consistent with what I say. And so $400,000 will set a probably world record per acre. Would you not agree with that, or would you agree with it?
I wouldn't agree with that.
400,000. Then I challenge you to show me another plot of land that it's $400,000 an acre to turn from farm ground to residential. I challenge you that. I would challenge you. But I have been consistent throughout this entire process that these numbers don't work.
Do you have a figure that would? I mean, it's half that? What's your figure that would? Because you have to consider that we have an
I mean, I think
opportunity to get
on
more
the high
acres
end
in
of
this.
$100,000. $100,000 is a high end per acre. Like, we're not even, we're so far out there that I couldn't even, the national average on a quick Google search was $70,000 on the high level. Okay, so we're in the stratosphere.
Our tax dollars would be.
With his 100 acres, if you were to get that would change this though.
I would like to see that
Okay.
number, but we need to see
All right.
how much we're
Go
gonna buy
ahead.
that
Jason,
land
I
for.
Go ahead, Laverne.
I just did 1.7 million minus 750,000 divided by 4.5 acres.
We're at 1.8, because we already have
It's
$100,000 in there.
208,000 an acre. Where are you getting 400,000?
Plus another, right, 1.3, we're at,
It's 208,000 an acre. I'm curious where you're getting 400,000.
you're fine, $280,000 an acre.
I get that, but I didn't know where you got the 400,000.
$280,000 an acre. We're still in the stratosphere.
So you need to ask yourself, what are you collecting off this now? We're not getting anything right now.
Duh.
If urban renewal dollars pays for this in 15 years, you're collecting all of that, and you have that after that period of time.
And you're creating housing.
Yeah, it may be higher end housing, but those higher end homes are opening up lower dollar homes.
I agree with you. I just don't know the rest of the equation. We gotta bring that number per acre
Obviously,
down.
that's
We
why I
have
said-
to bring that
That's
number
why I said
down.
that. We gotta do a closed session to do that.
All right.
So how long is this?
Lots were worth $100,000, or if we had to recoup $100,000 per lot, how long would it take it to get our money back if somebody built a $600,000, $700,000 home on it? Or even 35 condos, or however it's set out? How does that factor out? Because if you got the 1.7 million minus the 750,000 gives you your 950 divided by, you're talking a little over 100,000 per lot that we're getting. How much money does it take to recoup that in taxes per house?
So,
This is why I wanted to table it. I need.
well, I understand that. So the construction costs or projections is $9 million of assessed value at the end, which would be $4 million homes plus, I'm going to say $500,000 condos, so there's 10 of those. That's projection. So $9 million.
With that number, what is that?
With that number,
Okay.
your infrastructure costs would get paid out over 15 years. It actually, I can only TIF for 15 years on a residential, so it's going to take me 15 years to get it, but it's still ballpark. It's $100,000 a year once it's completely built out. Then after the TIF is gone, then there's $50,000 for perpetuity on those property taxes for that $9 million at $12.16.
But we're not really voting on that tonight.
I think you've got a very, very good proposal from a local contractor, and I think it would be a bad thing to.
I don't want to turn it down. I just want to table it for.
How long is this real estate contract good for?
Dave, I can't answer.
We did not set a time frame.
I mean, because if I'm them, I'm looking at this like, shit, I overpaid by $550,000 compared to the next bidder. I mean, if this is ever developed, I don't think you're ever going to get $750 again out of that 4.5 acres.
We'd have to go back to the bidders and see if they would hang on for another 14 days or 30 days with their bid.
Aaron, when do you anticipate a public hearing? If we accept one, set a public hearing, when, then we could hash it out more?
I think if we're talking about delaying the decision
Okay.
making process, we would first need to go back to the bidders and say, hey, would you still, or could we still accept your bid 30 days longer than we intended? Because right now, we had the public hearing scheduled for the next council meeting.
Oh, it was, okay.
Yeah, that was proposed.
Okay, thanks.
When we talk about a partnership with people, I mean, just because we never had to help with infrastructure in the past and people have paid for it out of their own pockets, those times are definitely changing. I think if we don't start doing something, we're going to be behind. I think we already are behind.
So as I was at the state meeting again this week in Sioux City, and I was in a housing meeting. And at that meeting, I asked the question to raise their hands. There was like 75 cities in there, and I asked how many have bought land and gotten it ready for development, and over half of them raised their hands. And the ones that didn't, a couple of them came up to me. I didn't contact everybody, but the ones that didn't, a couple of them came up to me, and one was Alta, Iowa. They can't afford to buy any land.
Because the size of the community.
Yeah, so, and the other one was a small town by Waterloo, I can't remember the name of the town. We're not doing anything right now. Jason's telling me there's only about 30 lots left in the city limits. You know, there is more lots available, but people don't want to give them up, but there's 30 that are available to be bought in the city limits, and that's it. What do we do after that if we don't start doing something?
Did you ask them how much it costs per acre?
Everybody's different, Jason. No.
I mean, that's a valid, see, that's the part of the equation that we're missing here. It's a huge part of the equation.
I know Iowa Falls paid, I can't remember. They paid $40,000 an acre for, I think it was 60 acres, and they gave the land to a developer to put in homes. The guy that did our planning session from Story City, their city bought some land for commercial and sat on it for a number of years, but he just told me at this conference that they got 2 companies coming in, and they would have never came in if they didn't have that land ready.
I'm willing to lower the price on the land and they put in the infrastructure.
So we have to go into closed session so I can tell you what those numbers are.
Okay.
All right. All right, anything else? I'm looking
Dave, can we go to a closed session today?
We can.
I didn't
No.
think so.
So I was gonna request a motion to accept one of these two proposals. Is anyone willing to make that motion?
I think Mark was trying to say
Uh,
something.
when we're
we do
done
that?
here, Mark, I would,
After you vote?
just to figure out what proposal we've got here, and then my plan would be to, establish the closed session, and then I told you, since I knew you weren't gonna be there, what?
It wasn't what you said to me before the meeting. You said I wasn't gonna be here for the public hearing.
Right, so I said you could speak this evening. We haven't even passed anything yet.
I understand that. I
Okay.
don't want you to pass anything.
Right, but what I was implying is that I would give you the time that you would have had on the 14th. I said if this passes, you remember me saying that? If we pass something tonight,
Then
that's how I
wouldn't-
said
then
it.
I wouldn't be here for the public hearing.
Correct, and so I
You're
said,
really
would you
gonna
like to
censor
speak
me?
this evening? No, I'm not trying to at all.
I'm here to, I didn't talk in the first 5 minutes because it was on the agenda.
Right. When I talked to you before the meeting, I said, Mark, if something passes tonight, I know you won't be
So
here.
you're just not gonna let me have 5 minutes here?
The 5 minutes would, yes, I will, if something passes, certainly. If we're going to pass and have a public meeting, I'm gonna let you talk tonight instead of when that public meeting is. Is that?
After the cow gets out of the barn.
No, the public hearing would, if I didn't let you speak at the public hearing because you were gone, that would be after the cow goes out of the barn. No, it's not. This is,
I kinda wanna hear
How
what
so?
Mark has to say before I vote on anything.
And you know what, Tom? I've done the math for you. You've got my cell phone. I've got the math.
if that's what you guys want, we can have him talk before, but, do you understand my logic?
I'm a
I do, but
citizen.
I also understand we just let people from Pleasant Ridge talk for 5 minutes apiece and
Well, they didn't speak for that long. I had a timer on that. None of them spoke even close to 5 minutes. All right, if that's your desire, come on up, Mark, and go talk now.
And I will try and, I mean.
That's fine.
I didn't come prepared to talk about TIF or moving the goalposts. I've got 5 minutes to
I'll
cover.
go
what-
ahead and say your name. I forgot
Mark
about
Beardmore,
that.
2625 Forest Street. So here we are, 15 months later, okay? And we found out that no one wants to pay, and the number keeps moving, and it was once 1.2, then it went to 1.7. We know it's 2.1. We know that. We found out no one's gonna pay $2 million. I agree the offer's fair with the infrastructure in there. I get that. Jason and I talked Friday. Back then, it was said here by a couple council members, you two, that said, well, we don't have to break even on this. And that was where I was out, because the taxpayer gets stuck. And when you get made whole, I didn't do the TIF calculations, I just did the property tax calculations. Anybody want to take a guess with that? If you build a $675,000 house, takes how many years? 39. 39 to get made whole, okay? Why?
You're not
So-
figuring in the 750 with that.
Okay, do I get the extension of the 5 minutes with questions?
I'm okay.
'Cause I'd
You're
love
only
to
at
have
1 minute,
dialogue.
Mark.
I would
I'm
love
okay
to
with
have
that.
dialogue.
I want to ask questions. I want to know what you're
Perfect.
thinking, and I'm going to tell you what I'm thinking.
Perfect.
But did you have 750 figured into that?
I had 750, what I ended up, the math is $1.3 million, which is what's short after the 750.
Okay.
Yes, sir. I had 1.3 figured in. You can check my math, Laura can check my math. It's car dealer math, but I hope it's right. But I believe it to be right. So we're short $1.25 million on this thing at best, which equates into a taxpayer subsidy. I talked to Pete Simons today as well. By the way, I'd like to have a copy of that memo. It should be public record by now. And he said that it is nothing more than a memo, and there is quote unquote nothing binding. Now, in one sentence, you say, we're not voting on that tonight, but at the same time, you want to couple it in saying, oh, but if we do this, we might get that. Make up your mind, one or the other, which one's it going to be? We're voting on $1.3 million worth of taxpayer money tonight, okay? That being said, what and why? What, to buy another 100 acres across the street, make one bad mistake into a larger mistake? Fine. Government is not always the solution. We've got a housing shortage? Absolutely. Why do we always turn to government? Do you want your tuition paid? Do you want, free cell phones? Why is government the solution? I say, and what I recommend this council to do is make the same smart decisions you made when I was in office, and you stay the course with incentives, and you make deals like you made with 704. Those will fly. This does not. I'm going to come back to one thing that when we campaign, we all talk about being good stewards of the taxpayers' money, but I'm going to come back to that. I want to make sure that when we talk about the memo, and the memo says this is in the best interest of the city. Who is the city? We are the city, not necessarily you guys. The taxpayers are it says that, Aaron, it's in there, that this is you're recommending that you pass it because it's in the best interest of the city. I say that this only is in the best interest of one contractor, potentially 9 homeowners, and maybe a few real estate agents.
Mark, I'm going to address that right now. If you think I'm in it to sell real estate, you're 100% wrong.
Okay, and you stick with it, but it will benefit some real estate agents. Okay? Now, here's
Well, you're fine. You
the
got
ending.
a couple minutes
okay?
you have to go.
Yeah. A vote against this is not a vote against development. We all want development. Everybody in this room wants development. Let's do it the natural way without government intervention. Let's give a hand up and not a hand out. And most of all, stop using OPM, other people's money. A vote against this is not against development. A vote against this is for the taxpayer. 3 years ago, final point. 3 years ago, myself, you, and you all ran highly successful campaigns and won overwhelming victories with the same message. And that message was to defend the taxpayer and common sense government. Who are you going to be tonight? Thank you.
Mark,
All right,
I do have a couple questions for you.
Go
Mark.
ahead.
Back up.
So in the 704 development, Matt paid for all that up front.
Yep.
Who locally do we have next in line that's going to be doing that?
I don't have an immediate answer for that. I don't, but I mean, it's called capitalism, Kyle. It's not called socialism by using our money to do it. Make sense?
I got you there.
Capitalism over socialism.
I got you there.
Thank you.
But when I'm looking at building a house in a community, and if I can pick anyone around, and I'm looking at Breda or Acadia, they've got lots available and Carroll doesn't. Why should I build here?
Because it's Carroll. Because gas is $3 a gallon.
We've been Carroll for the last 100 years.
Because we've got safe streets, we've got great police protection, we've got fire protection. The reason why you and I both live here is for the same reason. We could have lived in Breda. We didn't choose Breda, we chose Carroll. Choose Carroll. Isn't that what it says, Kimberly? Choose Carroll. That's why. What else?
That's all I got.
Thank you. Anybody else?
I just got a text here from Jason Whitrock. Every small town is using government dollars to do development, Sac City, Manning, etc. There you
Fully for
are.
them. Fully for them.
Wall Lake put out $1 million with a population of 750 to help get
Didn't we
ground.
essentially do the same with our ARPA funds, though? I mean, the ARPA funds could have been used for anything to save us from using the taxpayers' dollars. We've used the ARPA funds to do the incentives. Hasn't that helped? I mean, haven't we seen an increase in building because of those incentives?
But there's hardly any property left.
Jason himself told me to continue with the incentives. He said it worked for him. How many of those 20
But
came
that-
from him?
And that's exactly right. But when those 30 are gone, Mark, there's no land available. I'm going after those after the 30 lots is what I'm trying. You know, maybe this one don't work. We got to try and find something else. Within the city limits, when those 30 lots that Jason's telling me are gone, what are we gonna do?
Would you like me to call Lamar again?
So
He's
I
open
agree,
to my
I
phone
agree
calls.
with you that I think I want to develop.
Likes me.
I think that it's a great idea to develop. I do. I think that we don't, it's 4 acres. Like we need.
But I'm with you on that, I'm with you on that 4, but we gotta discuss the other across the road.
Right, okay, thanks, Mark. I didn't real, we're gonna have a public hearing on this if it passes, and that would be when I would do this. I really started with Mark because I knew he was gonna be gone if this passed. Cause he'd sent an email saying he would be gone, I knew what his passion was.
My question,
So-
my question can wait.
Okay, all right, well, I will entertain a motion to accept one of these two proposals that were presented by Aaron. Does anyone want to make a motion?
He's setting up the public hearing
Don't we have to have a motion on some, don't we have to have,
on the resolution.
I'm sorry, what was that?
Yeah.
We have to pass a resolution
Yes.
first.
Yes, setting up the public hearing to approve the proposal that the council is intending to accept.
We don't make a motion to approve one of the proposals tonight?
We don't know which one of these proposals would be approved, though.
That's
Would
why I
we-
asked earlier if we could
Okay,
table
so
it for a couple weeks.
You
have to have a
can, you can make a
proposal to have
motion to
public
do
hearing.
that.
That's what
So
would be
if
my
you're-
understanding.
If you're not gonna accept one of the proposals,
There's no reason to have a public hearing.
You have to,
So-
you have to present to the public what proposal you intend to.
And
have
since
them
we,
respond.
since we have two, that's what I'm looking for a motion for. Is that correct then? What I'm asking for is an approval of one of the two proposals.
But you, Tom,
In the establishment
you
of the
can make a
public hearing.
motion to table also.
Pardon?
We have to have the motion for public hearing to ultimately present the proposal, whichever the council decides, for public input.
You can wrap it
So-
all in one motion, is basically.
Yes.
Well, that's what number 2 says.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
If
that's all
council
we
wants
need.
to,
Okay.
wants to proceed with one of the proposals.
All right, all right, then this is what I'll
Number 2 says
do.
proposal and a resolution to set a public hearing.
Right. That's why I asked if we
Yeah.
could table it for 2 weeks,
Number 2 does that.
4 weeks, or 6
All right,
weeks,
so
or
I'm
whatever
gonna
we
look-
need to figure it out. Do I need
Your,
to make
Aaron,
that
your
motion?
recommendation would be to accept the Whitrock proposal, correct?
I'm not making a recommendation. In my,
You're just
in my
presenting it.
motion, I said council discussion and approval of one of the following options, which is 1, reject both proposals, 2, accept one of the proposals and approve a resolution setting a public hearing on the proposed sale of city interest in real estate.
Okay.
Or you can make a motion to table.
I'm gonna make a motion to table it.
Is there a second?
Well, I already said November, whatever, but if that's too far down the road, then whatever.
We-
Whatever we do is
it's
not
gotta-
gonna be digging dirt or anything in the near future, so it doesn't matter, but I just wanna get the numbers together, I wanna figure it out.
So what do you want to, she's saying that you need to have a specific
Make a
date.
motion to table it till November 11th.
Is there a second? No second.
There you go.
so-
That was easy.
Okay, then I will request a motion to accept one of the proposals and establish a public hearing set for October 14th. Is there a motion to that effect? All right, no
So,
motions?
so if we accept this motion on one of these proposals, we do not have to go through with it completely if when the public hearing comes up, or we are accepting it all.
You have to have the public hearing before any final council vote.
Okay. I think it,
So
I'm a little confused. It says accept one of the, on the recommendations, accept one of the proposals.
And Laverne, that's
That's
we
why I
gotta say
look for
which
one
one.
of the
that's the one
proposals
you're bringing
first.
forward.
So that is, you almost need a number 3 on here
Which
to
is-
accept which one.
That's what I called for first, but, your understanding is they need to go together, right?
Well, I think that's how it's phrased in the memo, is the motion
Okay.
would be, we accept proposal number 1 and set up the public hearing prior to final acceptance, okay?
Or we can make a motion to accept
You're bringing
neither of them.
forward one of the proposals.
Well, that's number 1.
All right,
But I'll make a motion to approve neither of them.
is there a second?
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
So this is to reject. the
Reject.
bids, right? Another way to say it's reject the bids.
Mm-hmm.
Dirks,
No.
Seaman,
No,
Ford Nero,
Yes.
Bauer,
No.
Shrek,
Yes.
Atherton.
Yes.
5-3, motion fails.
Okay. Now, is there a motion to accept proposal 1, correct? And establish a public hearing for October 14th?
Or you just rejected both
We
proposals?
just rejected both of those.
No.
Yeah,
No, the motion to
the motion to
both
reject both
proposals.
didn't, it didn't
Didn't
pass.
pass.
It didn't pass. We didn't vote to reject them, so now I'm
It's
asking
just the
for,
opposite of what I'm thinking.
Yeah,
right.
so now you
Okay.
can,
So, is there a motion to accept proposal 1 from Wittrock Construction and establish a public hearing for October 14th? Does anyone want to make that motion?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
All right, Laverne made the motion, Kyle seconded. Roll call vote, please.
Shrek,
No?
Bauer,
Yes.
Dirks,
Yes.
Ordinance,
No.
Seaman,
yes.
Atherton.
No.
5-3, motion fails.
Okay. All right.
Can I make a motion to table it for another date?
You already
Maybe
did.
sooner to your liking,
You already did.
It just failed.
but
You
it
didn't get a
failed.
second.
So-
There was no second.
I don't even
You
know.
can't make it
See,
again.
You could ask for a different date.
Actually, Tom, what you can do is ask the mayor to bring this up to the next city council meeting.
There you go.
But if he says no, you get 3 city council members and he has to do it.
All right.
So you can talk to me later.
You got until Tuesday to do that?
Sure.
What's that? I can bring up,
I
right.
thought it was 2. Laverne said 3. I thought it was 2.
No, it has to be 3.
Oh, to bring something back.
But it has to be at the next city council meeting to be brought up, and if it's not, then it's 6 months.
You're talking
And
about
you-
reconsidering.
Yes.
Yes.
6 months is perfect. That way we can have the other, we have the other part of the equation. I don't even mind that. Like, and my no isn't a final no. I just need the other part of the equation.
So what we can do is go into a closed session, get that equation, and then bring this back up. Oh, I don't know how you can do that in a week,
Not in a week.
because it just failed.
We wait 6 months and we get all our stuff together and then revote.
We have an extra Monday until the next council meeting.
So we have 3 weeks until the next council? So we can go to a closed session as quick as we can,
Okay.
determine that, and then you can bring this back up, but it has to be at the next city council meeting.
And Dave, we're gonna ask you to make sure of that before,
It does have to be the next regularly scheduled.
Yes, and
council
then
meeting.
after it does not make that meeting, then it's 6 months.
all right, let's,
I would agree.
then we'll go with this.
Make a
Is
motion.
everyone, no, this won't be a motion. Is everyone available for a closed session meeting this coming Monday, 1 week from tonight at 5:15?
Oh, that's,
Okay?
they're racking up overtime now, let me tell you.
Oh, hey,
Just a second.
we only have 1 meeting in December. I hope
Alright.
took care of you there.
$164, you know?
All right.
Get to the max time.
Is that a yes from everybody if we set up a
Yes.
closed session meeting?
Yes.
All right,
So
it's not
moved.
set up yet, but we'll see an agenda for it. If, Laverne, if you can go ahead and get that from him, or you want me to
Get what?
set up a closed session? Will you have your information ready
I
on
have it
Monday?
now. I just
Okay,
can't make it
very good.
public.
That's fine. So that's what we will do. We'll have a closed set. We'll go into closed session next, Monday evening. All right.
Thank you all. Thanks for the dialogue.
Thanks, Mark.
I would like a copy of that memo of understanding. I believe it should be public record. And I'd also,
It hasn't been approved by the mayor, so I don't think it is a public record yet.
I believe it to be, I don't want to press it, but will. And then also a copy of your math on the TIF. Thank you.
All right, next resolution, not to exceed $1.655 million. General obligation urban renewal capital loan notes, CBD, street resurfacing, and US Highway 30 traffic signals. Laura,
Can I have you open a public hearing for us, please?
okay? We'll open a public hearing at 6:31. Is there anyone in the public that would like to address this issue?
Just to give a little quick background, we talked about this as a last council meeting. This is to help fund the construction project, the overlay project that you probably have noticed is going on in the downtown area and then other parts of the downtown urban renewal area. So tonight is the time for the public hearing. It was published accordance with the state code and it was published on Friday, September 13th. Now is the time for the public hearing. As of date of time of council meeting, no comments have been received in favor or against this debt issuance. And then upon closing of the public hearing, we would look for council to take action, which is the next step of approving a resolution instituting proceedings to take additional action. And we would continue to work with bond counsel and our financial advisor to continue to walk through the next necessary steps to have a closing on this in November.
Any comments? I will close the public hearing at 6:32. And I'll look for a motion to approve the resolution instituting proceedings to take additional action as presented.
Second.
Motion by Tom, second by Jason. Roll call vote, please.
Dirks?
Yes.
Bauer?
Yes.
Seaman?
Yes.
Schreck?
Yes.
Atherton?
Yes.
Ordinance?
Yes.
Resolution's approved.
All right, moving on to reports. We have a report on the Access Washington event. And Aaron, would you like to make a few comments about that?
Yeah, in the memo that you all saw in your packets, we had a very good trip. Our first communicating about the needs, the first and most important need that we did when we went out there was communicating the needs of St. Anthony's Hospital. I believe that the big win will come with some legislation of a carve-out with their OB beds at the hospital. They currently have 25 general hospital beds, and those OB beds actually affect those 25 beds. So they're asking a carve-out because they have over 400 births there on an annual basis. We just had another hospital within our region shut their OB unit out. So I think that will be a very positive for for St. Anthony's Hospital. We also talked about communicating with the Department of Commerce and EDA regarding the SBDC funding and entrepreneurial growth. They wanted to use, they were looking at pulling back some of their funds out of the state and either making it a regional or taking those funds back to Washington DC like the USDA did with their housing. We took a very specific example to them and said, this really isn't a good idea. We felt that was actually a really good conversation that we had with both of those departments also. We did talk to the USDA and all of our congressional delegation regarding the emerald ash borer trees for the city. Not necessarily looking for funds for the city, but knowing that we have a number of individuals that have ash trees in town that quite frankly can't afford to take down a $2,000 tree. So we were just looking for them to either re-implement or put funds back into the city to, or into that program so that we could apply to help address individual or citizens' trees, along with kind of giving instructions that they probably, because they have the experience and the expertise, give some experience on what you should do to prepare for emerald ash borer, what happens when emerald ash borer is there, and then what happens at the end.
Aaron, real quick, just on that, since we're talking to that, there's a lot of these trees that are in the city right away. I've had a lot of questions from homeowners. Is that the homeowner responsibility or is it something the city takes care of?
No, in the city right of way, we are looking at those and putting together a plan that when we can get to particularly the dead ones, are part of our plan to get taken down. In fact, we're gonna do some tree removal here in the fall.
I have two of them. My congressman didn't listen to me though, or my councilman. I have two of them in my yard.
You have to pay for those, Jason.
So the city right away, tell us what that is, so the public knows.
The city right of way is typically, it depends on which street it is, but the easiest way to say it, it's the outside, the side of the sidewalk that's to your house and in. That's the easiest thing. Now, depending on which street it is, we have a 35-foot right-of-way.
You mean the sidewalk to the street?
So the road to the sidewalk, right?
The middle of the road to the outside of the sidewalk.
Okay.
To the sidewalk closest to the house.
Yes,
Okay.
that's all. The sidewalk
Yeah,
is
it
in
is.
the city right-of-way.
So what if there is no sidewalk?
Well, then it's determined by how big of a easement the city has or the city owns based on what they have for the street.
So how will that homeowner find that out?
The easiest way to do it, or to get your best guess, is to look on the county assessor's page and look at the GIS, and that gives you an idea of where that property line is.
Okay.
So they,
When did you say that you're gonna formulate this plan?
Randy's
Start
been
taking them down?
Randy's been working on that for quite a while.
and are they gonna give us any support on this, I guess, from when you were talking, like, is it?
Obviously, there's nothing going on right now until after
used
the
to have-
election.
Oh,
I didn't mean to
November
interrupt,
11th.
but they used to have, Jason, they used to have a plan.
Yeah.
And, and quite frankly, we noticed during this that everything we talked about, they kind of like to say, well, let's see what happens in November, and that's true. They're sort of on hold right now.
They must
But
have
what we
talked to
found
Tom.
out is that
They're talking to Tom.
there used to be some programs to help people, and those have expired, and there's nothing on the books right now.
Okay.
And so that's
So
what
did
we're,
they commit
that's when we
funds?
got.
Absolutely not. Were they receptive to listening to us? Yes.
And then do we have a plan, do we have our own internal plan, I guess, to start taking care of it?
We started a long time ago.
Yeah.
Preemptively pulling trees out like 5 years ago,
Okay.
which is a good thing we
And
did.
Tree
we're
bid
still
for the
on
parks
track
over there, yeah.
to where we're at on that? Okay, that's all I was checking, yeah, I was just checking.
What was there, it's 750 trees at one time?
I think we've taken 550 to 575 out of parks, golf course, and cemetery so far.
What is our
That's
projected
the
number of trees
city's
do we have now?
property alone.
That's city's property.
Alone.
That's not right of way, that's, no.
We're projecting about 350 in the right of ways.
How long did it take us to take out the 500?
Couple years.
3 or 4 years, 3 or 4 years.
Oh, so,
It seems like we
have a 2-year plan?
appropriated a
I guess,
fund
3
of
year?
like 20,000, Carolyn and
Okay.
Laverne were on. There was amount of money that we put in the budget for that, and
some
we,
back.
yeah.
50,000.
It was $50,000.
50,000
Yeah, it usually
something.
ends up depending on how much we can
Yeah,
Here's the
put
other
into
thing,
the budget.
but that's what we did at the time, knowing this was coming.
Yes, and there is still some funding in that particular line item for fiscal year 20.
Okay.
can we do something that if the resident takes it out themselves, that we, you know, what I mean? Does that make sense?
Reimbursement?
Like a reimbursement, is that is that an option, or? And maybe not a
Program you guys would.
Yeah,
have
maybe
to
not a
support.
complete 100% reimbursement, but if this thing's driving you crazy, like, get the thing cut down and the city reimbursed.
You're talking about the trees in what, I guess.
In the
I'm
right of way, I
old-fashioned,
would say
in
these
the
right of way.
right of way, I always called it parking.
Not in your backyard, but
Yeah.
these right of way trees that we're gonna be responsible for anyway, that they can just go to the civilian sector, get it done, and there's some type of reimbursement if it's within a certain dollar amount. I mean, it might be a conversation for a different day,
I guess the question, I said that to Jason a second ago, and the reason I said that to him was because recently I had a resident who his is maybe becoming a little more dangerous of falling onto their cars and their
I
property.
referred to them as widow makers to the people in Washington, I really
Yes,
did.
yes.
Yeah.
That's why I called it,
So I guess that's why I said to Jason, like, what if the resident takes it down on their own? I mean, maybe something that we need to consider, because there are some that
Takes
are
down a
becoming
tree that we were
dangerous.
responsible for.
Well, I think you'd wanna know how many trees there is before you put a dollar figure on it.
I don't know.
Randy just said there's about 350 right-of-way trees left,
Is there a liability in that?
and them taking it
No,
down?
I'm looking at our,
Well, they contract that with the tree person. It would have to be the council's decision whether or not that they would get into a program like that as far as reimbursing.
but it'd have to be done by
the
a
property owner.
professional company, right?
Oh, yeah, no.
No, I'm just saying that because
Yes. A
people
profe- yeah.
buying chainsaws.
I would say a professional, no, like, you can't go out there and hack this thing down. And I think you gotta take a picture of why it's so dangerous, you know what I mean? Because some of these are more dangerous than others.
And that would have to be a policy the council would need to discuss.
Tom, you're not getting the tree cutting
I
down
don't want
business.
to, I'm just saying.
I will say what some communities do is have an actual tree board. That way, any complaints of dead or dying trees, either in the right of way or on public lands, can be submitted to them to be taken down. I know there's numerous different ways to fund it, there's numerous different ways to do it, but in my experience, that's been what some other cities have done.
Does that fall under Park and Recs?
I
Does that
was
fall
gonna
under
say,
Park and
are
Rec?
we gonna make a motion here to nominate Chad to run the tree board?
Hey,
Okay.
such a smart
Anything
guy
else
over
that
there.
you had for this?
I don't have anything else. Kimberly, did you have anything to add, Scott, regarding Access Washington? Okay.
I will explain the critical care thing about the hospital a little bit, because what we're referring to is the hospital, I will call it, reduced itself to a critical care hospital from a regional hospital. And that was to get better reimbursement on Medicare. But they have to average 25 beds and no more in their hospital. With the addition of all of these births, it's possible that they would go over that and lose funding on everyone in the hospital. That's why they need this carve out. And that is probably what we will get something done for the hospital, and therefore to help everybody in the city, and that is to keep the hospital viable. But they will allow them to not count these births, just like what you would call fourth floor, the people up there, that's a carve out already. And they just advocated that we get allowance to carve out these old obstetrics cases, so that they didn't count against the 25 average that we had. And that's because we will get a significant influx from Crawford County, which no longer, they don't deliver babies over there anymore. So that hospital stands to gain a lot. I'll say one other thing about the meeting that I noticed, and that is anytime we brought up housing, whoever we brought it up to, be it a congressman like Randy Feenstra directly, or to an aide like the Senator Ernst was not able to attend the meeting, and so she just dispatched aides. As soon as we mentioned housing to them, you got that same recognition that you could tell they've heard it 1,000 times, because housing is so important. And they recognized it, and they immediately went to writing notes. And it's very interesting that no one there uses an iPad or any sort of electronic device to write these things down. They were all writing it down on paper. You guys noticed that. There was nothing else. They all took notes like a stenographer. And that was one thing that they made big notations on, is when we brought up housing at all, they realized it was a concern, obviously not just for Carroll, but clearly they've heard it many times before. So we made Randy Feenstra's webpage, I noticed, which is nice, so that was good. Just being in Washington is of value, because even while we were there, we happened to run across the U.S. representative for District 2. Scott, you had a conversation. Ashley Hinson's her name. And we just happened to see her in Union Station when we were having lunch. And so it definitely helps to show, I've never been there before, but it certainly helps to have a presence there for your city, and really the more the merrier, because it means a lot. And as Laverne can attest to, last year it was very valuable, because that's where we got, so
And
that was.
we probably would not have gotten to the high level of the people in the USDA with presenting the Fairview if we hadn't been there before.
Mhm.
You know, you have to work your way up to get to the,
Right.
you know, we got to second in command of the USDA last year.
And we talked to the first in command, and interestingly, he was so well organized that he saw what our agenda was and brought a health expert in just to talk about the hospital situation, because he wasn't familiar with it. So that was neat to see that they care. So I think it's a great trip, and something that needs to continue in the future. So, anything else? Nothing, Aaron?
Nope, I'm done.
All right, committee reports, you can check on your own. I have no other comments. How about from the city council? From the city manager?
No other comments.
Any motion to adjourn?
Smooth.
By Tom?
Second.
And Aaron seconded it. Roll call
Man,
vote,
you're on
please.
Atherton?
Yes.
Seaman?
Yes.
Shrek? Yes. Dirk?
Yes.
Romero? Yes. Bauer?
Yes.
We are adjourned.